We're going to turn now to my exclusive interview with Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner. We sat down yesterday in the Treasury Department's diplomatic room just after reports of a surge in November home sales to their highest rate in almost 3 years. And I began by asking if this good news, plus that dramatic drop in job losses last month, means that the recession is over.
Economy's growing. It's getting better, getting stronger. And I think most people would say that actually the economy is strengthening going into the end of the year, accelerating now. But the key thing is when we get job growth back.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about. You say it's accelerating. We saw the job loss slow down a lot in November, only 11,000 jobs lost. Are jobs going to be created in December?
I don't think so. I think it's likely, most economists would say that by the spring we'll have positive job growth.
And you
maybe
buy
before that, but by then I think.
Maybe before that, though.
Maybe it's possible.
Yet, you know, most of the country is still not feeling it. Yeah. I saw a new poll out that shows that fewer than 1 in 3 Americans believe your administration's policies will actually help them. What do you say to them? Well,
you know, it's very hard still out there. It's still a very tough economy. The crisis just caused a huge amount of damage to people's basic confidence in their economic future. You see that in business confidence, consumer confidence too. But confidence is improving. We asked your former Fed colleague, Alan Blinder, to grade the administration on the last year. Gave you an A for restoring the financial system, B for job creation, a C on home foreclosures. Is that fair? I don't think so. I'd say it this way. What the president did on housing was to bring interest rates down in ways that had hugely powerful effects on home prices and stability. He also put in place a program to help people who could afford to stay in their homes stay in their homes. And that program has already put 750,000 Americans into loan modifications that reduce their monthly payments very substantially. Well, foreclosures topped 1 million. They are. Just right now. And, you know, we're seeing some of the banks say for Christmas they're going to hold off on foreclosing. But do they need to be forced to do more? I think it's very important banks work very hard to start to rebuild trust and confidence of the American people in their institutions, in the financial system. They did a huge amount of damage to the country, lost a huge amount of trust and confidence. They need to work very hard to restore that. One of the ways to do that— You think they get that? I don't think they get it. I think some banks do, but I don't think all banks get it yet. What do they need to do to show that they get it? I think they need to make sure they're doing everything they can to help people who can afford to stay in their homes stay in their homes, help make sure they are lending in communities that need access to credit. Let's talk about health care. I was talking to Howard Dean last week, and he told me that the Senate bill is just a bonanza for the health insurance industry.
This is an insurance company's dream, this bill, and I think it's gone too far.
And investors seem to agree. As it became clear the Senate bill would pass, health insurance stock hit a 52-week high. So does that show that this Senate bill is a bonanza for the health insurance industry? I don't think so. I think this is a very strong package of reforms that'll be very good for the American economy and very good at trying to offer the prospect of improving care, expanding access, and lowering future costs. Meanwhile, we saw a whole bunch of deal-making in these final hours on the Senate bill. Mitch McConnell, the Senate Republican leader, said the bill is just chock full of cheap deals. And you know, you see in Nebraska, Senator Ben Nelson demands a permanent federal commitment to his Medicaid expenses. Even his Republican Senate colleague from Nebraska says it's not right for Nebraska to get something that the other states don't get. How can you justify it? And this is the most important set of reforms to one of the hardest problems facing the American economy, facing the American people, that you've seen in decades. And it offers the prospect of, in a very short period of time, having substantial expansion, access to affordable care, better incentives for how we use health care in a way that is fiscally responsible. Let's talk about your last year. The market tanked when you first rolled out the bank plan, and you faced some pretty harsh criticism in Congress.
The public has lost all confidence in your ability to do the job.
I don't think that you should be fired. I thought you should have never been hired.
How much of it was deserved?
Oh, you know, I knew from the beginning that this was going to be very hard and tough, and the things that we thought were necessary to do were going to be deeply unpopular on both sides of the aisle. But, you know, what we did to help break the back of this financial panic was hugely effective at much lower cost than anybody expected. We've had $90 billion come back from banks. Banks are repaying with interest. To the TARP you're talking about. Yeah, and that's just one measure of how quickly we've been able to get stability back. Well, one of the things we're seeing is that as the banks pay back this money, they're raising a lot of stock money in the capital markets, and they're actually paying themselves. As they do that, a column in the New York Times this morning quoted one of the bankers saying, "Thank you, Mr. Geithner." Yeah, I saw that. But overwhelmingly what's happened— What did you think when you saw it? Well, again, most of what's happening, Americans have taken some comfort in, because we've been able to repair the most damaged parts of our financial system much more quickly at much lower cost to the taxpayer.
You said earlier that some of the banks get it. Which ones don't?
That's not a judgment for me to make, or I want to share you.
Well, you're going to make it. You're just not going to share it.
Well, I don't think I'll share that with you now.
Let me just ask one final question. It's not just about Christmas. Yeah. Beyond a few days off, what is your real wish this Christmas?
Oh, I think Americans should go into the holidays and into next year with more hope about the future. You can see now the beginnings of that process of healing, confidence gradually improving, and that's something we want to work very hard to reinforce.
Mr. Secretary, thanks very much.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
You can watch my entire interview with Secretary Geithner at abcnews.com. Just click on GMA. The full transcript is posted there as well.